This was a method recognized by German experts as the fastest way to identify Jews. First, measure the nose with calipers, then compare eye color using a chart. While fairly accurate, it was too cumbersome on the battlefield. Later, the Germans discovered a more direct method. Just have the person drop their pants. If they'd been circumcised, it was a sure sign. This terrified a young boy who'd been captured. Not only was he Jewish, but he was also a member of the Soviet Komsomol. If they found out, his fate would be grim. To survive, he quickly removed his red scarf and buried it along with his ID in the dirt. When the Germans came to question him, he spoke fluent German, claiming he was German but had been held in an orphanage by the Soviets, and that meeting the Germans now was finally his salvation. The soldiers, seeing his pitiful appearance and hearing his perfect German, couldn't tell if he was lying and handed him over to their superior for processing. Fortunately, he had nerves of steel. He answered the officer's questions calmly until he was asked his parents' names. Panic surged. He hadn't yet invented German names, and he was about to slip up. But a nearby lieutenant mistakenly assumed his parents were dead, and a captain gently put an arm around him, comforting him and telling him to consider this his new home. A captured Soviet soldier nearby shouted at him, calling him a coward for betraying his country. But the Germans didn't understand and instead protected the boy. They took him back to the barracks and even had him work as a translator. The officers took a particular liking to him and treated him warmly. He finally felt some relief until a familiar voice called out from behind. It was his childhood friend, who immediately recognized him. The officers grew suspicious, but because they couldn't understand the language, they relied on the boy to translate. Nervous but determined, he insisted his friend was deliberately causing trouble, even slapping him. Enraged, his friend rushed at him, only to be shot dead by the Germans in the chaos. Ironically, the boy's boldness earned the Germans greater trust. To protect his cover, he ran far away every time he needed to use the bathroom. But one day, before he could finish, his teammates caught up. Few in the unit had his talents, and the commander wanted to train him personally. His comrades even helped him straighten his uniform, genuinely happy for him. When he was brought before the commander, who looked at him with admiration, he suddenly asked, "Who is Germany's enemy?" Hesitant, the boy cautiously answered, "The Soviet Union." The commander shook his head and said, "The Jews." The boy froze, too scared to speak. Later, when the Germans took him on a patrol, they came across a group of murdered Jews. Grief filled his eyes, but his comrades told him these were the same people who had killed his parents. To avoid exposing himself, he forced himself to fire. Because Jewish boys were circumcised at birth, he always locked the bathroom door when bathing. One day, while he was in the bath, a German soldier unexpectedly walked in and discovered his secret. Terrified, he knelt and begged for mercy. The veteran, seeing his fear, didn't report him but instead comforted him like a father, promising to keep his secret. From then on, they confided in each other and looked out for one another on missions. But a single accident shattered it all. During a battle, they captured a Soviet telephone. His teammates wanted the intelligence but couldn't understand the Soviets, so they asked the boy to translate.